You are listening to WOLF Wolf Radio. Stream us at thewolfUWG.com or the Odyssey app.
Welcome to Wolves of the Written Word.
More college students should read.
Reading is cool.
Have you ever read a book before?
Of course I have. This show used to be a podcast.
Dystopian is my favorite genre.
That's depressing.
Wow, I can't believe that's banned.
Wolves of the Written Word.
Wolves of the Written Word.
Wolves of the Written Word. Wolves of the Written Word. Wolves of the Written Word.
Wolves of the Written Word.
Wolves of the Written Word.
Enjoyed the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wolves of the Written Word, Wolf Radio's flagship book show where we talk about all things reading, literature, and, of course, the written word. For those of you who are just tuning in for the very first time, we have 3 rules that we have for this show. The first rule is that we talk about the good and the bad for all things literature. It's easy to talk about the bad, but we also have to focus on the good that we can enjoy as well. The second rule is that we at least try to at least read one thing before we talk about it on the show, but there has been some exceptions because you can't read everything in a very short amount of time. Another thing, of course, and the last and final rule, and which is the most important, is that we're here to have fun and enjoy ourselves. We're here to talk about books, reading, our favorite authors, our favorite stories, our favorite fictional worlds. But instead, mostly everything has to be engaged. But for now, I am your host, Sean Smith.
I'm your co-host, Janelle Michelle.
I'm your co-host, Adia Stubblefield.
And today we're actually being a bit more broad today because we're actually going to be talking about adaptations, but not just any adaptations. We're actually going to be talking about the book adaptations that will be released in 2026 of this year. Now, just to kind of inform you guys just for a bit, an adaptation is when you take a source material and you turn it into something else. Now, for this, we're mostly going to be talking about book to movie adaptations, which, of course, is one of the more famous adaptations that everyone can recognize. But books can turn into other mediums as well, including TV shows and musicals, and also video games as well. Often or not, it has to be directly a book to a different medium adaptation that we have to kind of talk about. So we have a pretty decently sized list of book adaptations that will release in 2026. But for now, we're actually going to talk about a little bit about adaptations themselves. So just to open the floor here, what would you say is kind of like what really makes a book adaptable? Like, what would you say, what makes one book able to turn into something else, like a movie or a TV show? Like, is it the story, the characters, the world? What really brings it in?
I definitely think the world. One of my favorite adaptations, book to movie, was How to Train Your Dragon. When you read the book, you don't really get the story that like you see in the movie, but because the world building was so amazing, the people who wrote the screenplay for How to Train Your Dragon were able to take aspects from the book and turn it into a movie. So I feel like definitely one of the most important things is making sure your world is buildable and people are able to build upon that world.
Yeah, I actually agree with that, but in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the most important parts to like create a book into a movie adaptation or even like a TV show adaptation is potential for imagery. You need to have potential to have beautiful images when you turn this into a movie or when you turn this into a TV show, because How to Train Your Dragon is beautiful. It is a very beautiful film because there's so much to build on based off of the cartoon versions of it. And then even things like, it's not a movie adaptation, but Percy Jackson, that's book to TV show. Percy Jackson as a book, you read that, you can imagine it, you can imagine all this beauty and whatever in their world. You see it on the screen, it's beautiful to see.
Yeah.
Of course. Adaptations for me, of course, are kind of like the easiest way to get into the source material. Of course, whenever you watch a movie and you discover that it's based on a book, you kind of look back on it to see what the original story's like. And adaptations have kind of existed for at least 100 years since the first camera was made. I mean, as soon as movies were kind of formulated and kind of slowly poured out, one of the first few things that people did was adapted original novels that were popular at the time, like Alice in Wonderland, The Wizard of Oz. I mean, these are things that people were basically able to do since the beginning. But I know that for most adaptations, it is a bit harder to understand faithfulness to mostly adaptations. And I think that in this more bigger day and age, I feel like that there are more adaptations than usual. So I feel like that another question that we kind of can discuss on is that some genres naturally suited better for adaptations. Like, I know that, for example, like there are short stories or stories that are so vivid and hallucinogenic, maybe, where it feels unadaptable. And some books are kind of unadaptable for a while. Lord of the Rings was unadaptable for a while because of its massive scale. Because of the vivid imagery in American Psycho, it was also unadaptable for a while. So would you say that some genres fit better into adaptations than others?
I think you just have to wait for technology to catch up to whatever you want to adapt. Because for a long time, people thought like the Odyssey was unadaptable. And now we're having like a really big epic Odyssey movie come out. And then we had an Odyssey like musical stuff come out. So I feel like everything is adaptable when technology or like people are ready to write about it.
Yeah, I agree with that, because my answer was going to be yes and no,
Mm-hmm.
because it depends on where we are, like, technologically. Ooh, that was good English. It depends on where we are technologically, but it also depends on, like, where everybody's mindset is.
Yeah.
Like, if nobody thinks this is going to be adaptable, they're not going to find ways to make it adaptable. But if somebody thinks it's adaptable, then we're going to find a way to make it adaptable. Like, fantasy works really well for adaptations.
Mhm.
Romance works very well. But also just, like, regular YA works amazingly with adaptations, because you don't really need to add anything past finding actors and places to tell the story.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that around maybe the 70s or 80s, they can probably find a book or adaptation that seems impossible. But by the time of like maybe the 2000s or 2010s, it's probably a bit more easier to kind of make this movie. And now it seems kind of more accessible, I would say.
Yeah.
I guess another thing that I'm kind of very excited for is that because of this wide range of adaptations that we're going to talk about for this episode, what would you say is the adaptation that you're most excited for in 2026 that you have at least heard of course? Any hopes, fears? We can, of course, go around a bit.
I'm trying to think, like, which one I'm the most excited for, but the only thing that can pop up in my head is the Odyssey, because they've been working on that one for a while, and I'm very interested to see how they're going to go, or, like, what direction, or how true to the original story they're going to go for that one.
Same. The Odyssey is something I'm super duper excited for. Like, I love the epic poem. I listened to Epic the musical.
Same.
Like,
Same.
I love all the actors in the
Epic
Odyssey. And I just feel like it's going to be one of the best adaptations we've seen, especially because they kept it so secret.
Oh, it's so
Like,
secret.
I remember when it first got announced, I was struggling to look for the cast list, and I'm pretty sure the full cast list isn't actually, like,
Not
released yet. So I'm really excited to see what they do with that.
Yeah, when they first announced it, I kind of thought it was fake.
I thought it
because
was fake, too.
you couldn't really
yeah.
find
You
anything
found
on it.
nothing. And seeing, like, Tom Holland as the son, and then,
Telemachus?
yes, like, he fits Telemachus so well.
So
and you
well.
wouldn't, like...
You wouldn't expect that, because
And then Zendaya as Athena, it's
it's just so good. Also,
I'm super excited.
I just love that. That's actually so crazy.
Yeah, I do agree. I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan. Christopher
Mhm.
Nolan's sort of like a very big name in the film major student community. He's kind of what we all aspire to be, and I am actually very excited for the Odyssey as well. I know that there's a lot of different book adaptations that also are pretty recognizable, but we will, of course, be talking more about that on the episode. But I am interested in the Odyssey as well, because I think that is sort of like the core element of an adaptation. I mean, most adaptations can become different over time. I know that I think that we kind of talked a little bit about different kinds of movies and how, like, director intent and creativity, and how, like, when you focus on certain things, it becomes different. Like, take Alice in Wonderland, for example. Like, most people lean in onto hallucinogenic, kind of trippy aspect. Disney kind of did this. But other adaptations often focus more on, like, horror, often or not. And I know that one of the biggest controversies that I've seen as well, especially with the inclusion of the public domain, is the adaptation of kind of childlike, kind of, original stories turned into horror films. Of course, you all know about the Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey movie that came out, of course. But even though it's not the best, it's kind of what art is really about, changing and becoming a bit different. But you know what also can make you a bit more different? Looking stylish. When you look good, you feel good. If it fits good, you feel good. Now you can rep your favorite College Station with our brand new merch store powered by O0 Apparel. Visit thewolfUWG.com and click About. We'll be talking more about adaptations right after the break.
We're sorry, but the DJ you are trying to reach is out of the studio right now. If you would like to leave a message, please visit at the Wolf UWG on Instagram. For campus updates, behind-the-scenes chaos, music moments, student takeovers, or all the fun that happens when the mics are off, follow us on Instagram at the Wolf UWG. Wolf Radio, for students, by students.
I started reading a book about a maze. I got lost in it. You're listening to Wolves of the Written Word.
keep calm and listen on. You're listening to Wolves of the Written Word.
Welcome back, everyone, to Wolves of the Written Word, of course. Now, basically, we all have to be very responsible, of course, with our reading, but also we have to be very responsible with our drinking. College students who binge drank alcohol at least 3 times per week were roughly 6 times more likely to perform poorly on a test or project because of drinking. Dream City Brewing Company, Wolf Sports Network, and Wolf Radio proudly remind you to Drink Responsibly campaign. Students 21 and over should drink responsibly in an environment that discourages overindulging. Faculty won't take hangovers as excuses. Make sure to drink responsibly. So if you're just tuning in, we are talking about adaptations, more focused book adaptations, especially for the ones in 2026. Now, I actually have a little bit of an article by Rotten Tomatoes, and I did a bit of research before we came here on this episode where we will be talking about the 2026 adaptations that are going to be releasing. So for this segment, we are actually going to be talking about the book adaptations all the way up for March, all the way up to, I would say, July. So basically, we're just going to go through and see what kind of book adaptations are there. And if you guys remember any kind of adaptations that are releasing during this time, again, you can just let you guys know. Now, there's a couple of adaptations that are a bit surprising that are on this list. Like there's a Young Sherlock Amazon Prime series about a young adult Sherlock Holmes and himself kind of just going through doing mysteries and such. I kind of excited, not really. I don't know. I mean, Sherlock Holmes is kind of like the most adaptable character ever. Anyone can make a Sherlock Holmes. It's hard.
Because I think my introduction to Sherlock Holmes, this is really bad, was in Romeo and Juliet. Like the gnome version of Romeo. That was my first introduction to him. So I'm not really that hyped for that, at all.
They announced it a while ago. I'm more so interested in the direction they might take it, more than anything.
All right, cool. I'm pretty interested in it as well, but it does kind of remind me a little bit of maybe that young James Bond kind of video game as well. And it's just one of those many different kinds of novels or adaptations that most people try to get one over as well. But remember, this is based on a book series, so there was a Young Sherlock book series that kind of expanded from the original canon from what you expect. Let's see. There's also sort of a crime fiction called Scarpetta. Basically, it's about Nicole Kidman as a forensics pathologist, basically, in which she kind of solves complex murder cases. It's just another murder mystery kind of style series.
See, I like Nicole Kidman. I just personally, I have never enjoyed a murder mystery book. Actually, I liked one. I think it was The First to Die at the End, or some series like that. So maybe I will give that one a watch. We'll see.
I saw the trailer for that one. It looks interesting. Yeah, that's my statement. It looks interesting.
It looks interesting. It's going to release March 11th, 2026 on Prime Video. And just the backlog, Young Sherlock is actually releasing in 2 days on March 4th on Prime Video. I thought it was a movie when I first saw it, but no, it's just a series. And I'm like, oh, man, it's going to be so long.
I kind of like that. I feel like we're lacking series right now.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone wants to make movies. Let's bring back TV.
Honestly, let's bring back TV. Also, low-key, we were talking about this during the break, but sometimes some things that they'll choose to adapt into movies need to be series.
Yeah.
We were talking about how the first, I was asking Adia, what's the first book adaptation that you remember watching as a movie? That you actually knew it was a book first. And mine was A Wrinkle in Time. And I feel like A Wrinkle in Time should have been a series rather than a movie, because it cuts out a lot since it's a movie instead.
Yes. That variation is kind of interesting.
Because I kind of can't wait to see the Harry Potter series, what they do with that. Because we know the movies.
But it's what would they be like as a series? Yeah. Because sometimes a movie could be really good. Hunger Games. I love the Hunger Games movies. But I feel like that would be very interesting as a series. Do I think Hunger Games should be a series? No. It should be a movie. But it would be very
nice,
interesting.
cool to see the difference.
like an example of that is Percy Jackson, because the books are one way, the movies are a completely different way,
and then the series
is completely different, the musical something completely different. So it's like every adaptation is very different or slightly different.
Okay. So releasing March 13th is Reminders of Him. It's basically I think a movie adaptation of one of Colleen Hoover's novels. It centers on basically a boyfriend being sent to prison, or I guess sending his girlfriend to prison, I guess, and then trying to reunite with her young daughter. Just typical kind of drama stuff.
Actually, he dies. Yeah, it's like he dies, and then I think she goes to prison because of his death, because like it's a car accident kind of. I've seen the trailer for it, and then
this actually is like one of the only Colleen Hoover books that I don't hate.
Yeah,
like I thought it was okay.
Yeah, because based off the trailer, it's like that's her first love, or that's the only person that's like kind of her family, and then they're pregnant. And then something happens, a car accident happens, and I guess he dies. And then because of that, she goes to jail because of his death. And then her child is taken away from her. And then I guess the rest of it is supposed to be her trying to get her kid back because they took her kid away.
Because that's one I'm really excited for. Because the guy from Outer Banks, JJ, sure, he's acting in that one.
And I think he plays the boyfriend.
He plays
who
the
dies.
boyfriend, yeah. So I'm excited.
It's good that you guys are excited. There are a lot of cool movies on here. Now we're exiting out of March for this month with its the one that's on this list, Project Hail Mary, which is going to release on March 20th. It's basically about an astronaut who wakes up with amnesia and he has to figure out where he is and what he has to do. I think it's written by the same person who written The Martian, and it was also adapted into a movie starring Matt Damon.
Interesting.
Is this a movie?
Yes, it's a movie.
Wow, very interesting.
Cool.
Nice premise.
We're now entering into April. April's kind of a bit small in regards to adaptations, but apparently there's something called Margot's Got Money Troubles. It's an Apple TV series, of course. Apple TV kind of inserting itself into the adaptation world. Basically, it's about Margot, a college dropout who turns to OnlyFans to make ends meet. So
that sounds very much something that Apple would adapt.
Yeah. I'm not shocked.
Yeah, and this is, of course, again, based on a novel released in 2024 by Rufi Thorpe. So a bit closer to reality, of course. But again, what novel isn't closer to reality?
Yes, this is true.
Let's see. Now we're kind of entering a little bit into July a little bit.
Wait, we forgot May. There's one thing that's probably not going to be on the list, but Sophia the First, the
so excited
the
for
reboot's
that.
coming, and technically that is an adaptation because it was like a little book series. Then it got turned into that little short film, and then it got turned into the series, and now it's the reboot series. So that is something that I completely forgot about that, but that's a reboot that reboot/adaptation that I'm super duper excited for.
I'm very excited for that one.
Yeah.
Also,
I think I
look at
heard
you
about
knowing
it.
lore, knowing deep lore for Sophia the First.
Do you know when it's going to release?
Sometime in May.
May.
Like at my big age, I shouldn't be as surprised, but it's like not surprised, excited for it. But I feel like it's gonna be a really good adaptation.
But I heard they're changing the animation style.
they did. No one wants to do like the traditional.
Nobody wants to do like
hand-drawn animation.
Nobody wants to do that anymore. And it's just like,
It's 3D, but it's really cute. I'm still gonna watch it.
I don't know. They love 3D these days.
Of course. After a little bit of a touch of May, we're now entering into July, of course. There's not really many, I guess, June adaptations that I can at least recognize, which is interesting because June is sort of like the best summer month. In my opinion.
Especially because like maybe they're not doing it in June because of how stacked June's gonna be movie wise.
Yeah, probably because June this summer and like late spring is very stacked with movies. So I wouldn't be. That's why even this list is not that many adaptations. But I'm not shocked by that because there's a lot coming out that's like original creative or
because
reboots of something.
I'm surprised the Mario movie's not on that list because I'm pretty sure that comes out this year, maybe the
Sometime
spring,
this year.
and that's an adaptation.
Yes, it is. Well, it's kind of a reverse adaptation in a way. Like, of course, since we're a book show, we're only going to be talking about book to movie adaptations. But yes, it is technically an adaptation from a video game into a movie. But of course, we're mostly just talking about book to films, which is why it's actually not on this list. But it does, of course, count as an adaptation. Also, I kind of have noticed that we have also talked about this last big adaptation, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, releasing July 17th, 2026. Of course, we talked about this early on in the episode. We're very excited for it. And it's kind of sort of like a very big epic and a big kind of expansive world, of course. But I want to kind of switch over sort of our attention over to sort of the importance of adaptations itself and sort of something that we kind of have to kind of debate about.
Silence in the court.
All rise. It is time for novel objections.
That's right, Novel Objections, one of our very interesting and unique special segments. Basically, we present a topic to the court, and mostly just us, and then we debate on whether or not if it's true or in what we will basically reach for the verdict. So, today's, of course, topic, of course, is sort of a very big kind of hot take, or at least something else. A TV movie adaptation can be better than the book. Now, obviously, we are, of course, our avid readers. We do want to originally focus on that source material, and eventually the book does, of course, get better. However, there are instances because of creator intervention and filmmaker choice where the movie actually does a lot better than the actual original source material, mostly because the author was just randomly writing something or they never thought about it before, or even if, let's just say, the filmmaker just thought of something else that makes it immensely better. So, what are our options and opinions on that?
To play devil's advocate, I think that more commonly than not, the movie is actually better than the book, depending on which kind of book we're adapting. Now, if we're adapting a Wattpad story, then it's going to be a bit better. But I think if we're adapting like a full-length novel that had some very interesting things, I think the movie is better.
I agree, especially nowadays. I feel like a lot of times you're bringing the author in to kind of sit and make sure everything is going the way they vision. I think a really good example of this, even though it's an older one, is Holes. The book Holes is really good.
Yeah.
However, the movie is so much better.
So
like,
much better.
The author of Holes was actually one of the script writers, and I think she helped direct some scenes of Holes. And she was able to, like, expand the story without adding too much. And I really liked that movie a lot more than the book. And even like Bridgerton, like I know we just talked about that last week, but that's an example of like the series kind of excelling more than the original book novel. Because most people don't even know that there was a book novel. They just know Bridgerton as the TV show.
Yeah, because they're so different, but they're so similar. And it kind of like develops so much more. I think another example that maybe could work for the movie is better, or that could also work for like the book is better, is Hunger Games. Because there are multiple Hunger Games books. As we know, the Hunger Games series, like the new movie is coming out, I think either this year or next year.
This year.
This year, end of this year. I think it's like November in this year.
Yeah.
I feel like for Hunger Games, sometimes the movie is a lot better than the book because the movie is delving into things that the book was not thinking of, but vice versa. Sometimes the books are better than the movies because the books have details that the movies don't include at all.
And honestly, now that you mention it, I feel like that's just a thing for dystopian.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Divergent, that was better as a movie than the TV show, and not TV show, the book. And like Maze Runner was an amazing book series, but the movies, it's so much better. And I think it's because like for sci-fi and dystopian, one thing that it's like its downfall, you're focused on one character and whatever they know, you know. But in a movie, you're able to expand that world and you're able to see everything and not just one perspective.
Yeah, like Maze Runner, Thomas does not know anything, right? But he knows something. In the books, it's like Thomas doesn't know anything. We're learning with Thomas, which like is the same as in the movies, but it also kind of feels like we know a little too much about Thomas that Thomas doesn't know about himself. But in the movies, we're just as lost as him. We're actively learning everything as him, and we're actively seeing it through his eyes of being
out.
Like, I was dropped in this random place. I have no memory. I didn't know my name for like the first day that I was here. So I feel like it's definitely a toss-up. It could be either way, but I think 9 times out of 10, it's going to be better.
Yeah. So for my opinion, of course, it really just depends on the filmmaker themselves on how they adapt it. One of my biggest examples of this is where in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, the original source material is over, I think, maybe 800 pages at least. It's very expansive. But the director and kind of the screenwriter kind of shortened it into like an hour-long film by taking out some stuff. But they still kept the context. So the source material and the actual story still remains intact. However, there are also instances in which the original kind of book itself is kind of better. One of the many examples is the Hobbit films, in which they take just a simple regular novel, like max 200 pages, and expanded it into like 3 2-hour films. So it really just depends on the filmmaker when it comes towards adapting sort of these adaptations towards book to movie or even TV, because it kind of just shows that people want the story to be kind of whatever they kind of want it to be, especially when you're trying to read. But one of the main things, of course, is that filmmakers do have responsibility in regards to adapting a story, but you should also be very responsible when you're drinking. In a recent survey, almost 53% of full-time college students ages 18 to 22 drank alcohol in the past month. That is why Dream City Brewing Company, Wolf Sports Networks, and Wolf Radio's Drink Responsibly campaign is here to remind you that there is no drinking under the age of 21. Never drink and drive, even if it's one alcoholic drink, and add food and water when you drink so you won't end up texting your ex, which means know your limits. We'll be talking more about book to movie adaptations right after the break.
You're listening to Wolves of the Written Word, where the stories are more than just what's on the pages.
Yo, what's up with these bodacious tunes? Wait, gag me with a spoon. Why am I talking like this?
No idea, but let's put that unique voice to use and sign you up for Wolf Radio's WIT program. Our righteous staff have the know-how to make you a radio expert.
Radical. So how do I sign up?
Just go to thewolfuwg.com and click the WIT program link under our About drop-down menu. Piece of cake. But we got a motor. Sticking to the clock is the most important rule of radio. Cowabunga!
show is not over yet. We'll be back with more Wolves of the Written Word here on Wolf Radio.
And welcome back to Wolves of the Written Word. And of course, we all know that we do like reading, which is pretty good, but also looking good is also just as important. When you look good, you feel good. When it fits good, you feel good. Now you can rep your favorite college station with our brand new merch store powered by Old Zur Apparel. Visit thewolfUWG.com and click about. If you're just tuning in, we have been talking about book to movie adaptations, but we have touched a little bit about mostly TV shows and a little bit of other adaptations as well, such as video games as well. But for now, we're actually going to be finishing off the little tiny list of movie kind of adaptations from books that will kind of exist. So for the list here, there's not much that is actually kind of releasing between October all the way up to December. But the one that is kind of like the biggest that I think that we can all kind of talk about is the new Hunger Games movie, which is releasing November 20th, 2026, Sunrise on the Reaping. I'll be honest, this is probably like the fastest an adaptation has probably came out since I have noticed. Like when this movie came out, the book was announced, then they announced the movie literally a year later. I have never seen anything like it. And I don't know if any of you have actually seen the other Hunger Games movie. What was it called again? The
one with music.
Songbird.
Songbirds, yeah, that one.
Yeah. I don't know if any of you saw it. Of course, I think there was some pretty good reviews, but I think that it shows that I think Hunger Game prequels were needed because it was touched upon in the books, but now I feel like that with the source material and, of course, the movie, they actually kind of have both to balance it out. And I think it's different from, like, the Harry Potter or Fantastic Beasts films where they just made just the prequels to base it off of the movies instead of focusing on the books.
Because I need to finish Hunger Games. Same. I actually only read half the first book. And only watched Songbirds because I like the actress in it and saw half of the first movie. Like, I want to like it because I feel like I do like it deep down. It's just, I don't know.
See, I'm the complete opposite. I read Hunger Games for the first time because of
the movies.
Well, yes and no, because I was taking like I was taking a film as literature class when I was in like middle school, and so our teacher, one of the books that we had to read was Hunger Games, and then we were gonna watch the movie. So I had already seen the movies and then reread the books to watch the movie. So now I want to reread all of them so that I can watch all the movies when the new one comes out.
Because I definitely want to watch it when the new one comes out. Yeah. Because, like, I know all the lore, and I really do appreciate Hunger Games. I just haven't sat down and, like, consumed it myself. Yeah. Like, I've only done what you said, like, listen to, like, podcasts about it, which is crazy because I know so much, but I haven't
but it's like you haven't sat down and
for myself. Yeah.
But I think Hunger Games has so much. And one thing I truly do appreciate about it is the fact that Suzanne Collins has taken the time to write full backstories. Yes. Like, I'm telling you, she probably has 10 more books ready for us. If they were to give her the money, drop them right now, they would be released within the next 5 years. Like, actually, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. In 5 years, let's drop 10 books. Then let's get the movie deals because the studio, I think, actually has her locked up somewhere. I think they have a life-binding contract that whichever Hunger Games book she writes, they will make the movie.
And for me, I think why it takes me so long to read, like, Hunger Games and watch it is because I feel like all dystopian stuff is kind of coming true. And it's, like, scary. Like, reading it, it's like, oh, wait. That's a little too realistic for my taste. Yeah. Let me put this book aside.
But that's how I felt about Hunger Games since I was younger. Like, first time I ever watched Hunger Games, I was just like, oh.
Yeah. For me, like, I get scared. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Turn it off.
And it also didn't help because, like, back when I watched it for the first time, so I watched it when I was in, like, elementary school, which is a bit young, but, like, I think that's when everybody watched Hunger Games for the first time. So it's, like, around the 2010s type. And then back then, you know, people loved going around being like, oh, yeah, you know, the Hunger Games, it's true,
it's
right?
True, guys.
They're going to start the Hunger Games in, like, 10 years. And I was like, 10 years? Wait a minute. I'm only, like, 7. Like, that is not enough time. So, yeah, Hunger Games is... I think that's something that works a lot with, like, book to movie adaptations or book to anything adaptations, is that you read the book, you're seeing it, you relate to it, and you're like, there's an underline of, like, this could come true, this is a bit realistic. Even, like, in fantasy, there's like an underline of like, okay, I can relate this to real life. But then when you adapt it to a movie or a TV show or a musical or whatever you adapt it to, that's what makes it feel more real, because now you're actually seeing it with actors and with set pieces that look so realistic. Like this just popped out of thin air. Now it's in my world, which is crazy.
Yeah, I do agree. I do like about the Hunger Games adaptations is that unlike most movie franchises where they just expand from the movies, they do of course have the author herself actually did create this whole book that you can actually read, and then they make the movie. Yeah. And this is an interesting thing where it's kind of like a simultaneous kind of creation where like you write this book and then you make this movie. I mean, it's kind of weird, and there's like a whole year between it, so there is enough time, but it's kind of a bit weird in this case. But I do like it because at least then you have something to kind of compare it to. But at the same time, it's not like she's writing the screenplay for the movie, but rather she's actually telling an actual genuine story, and then the movie is going to come out a bit later. Yeah. So we're nearing the end, of course, our episode, and I think that we have, of course, talked a lot about adaptations that we liked and that we enjoyed. So I probably want to finish off by kind of mostly talking about adaptations that we kind of dislike, or at least adaptations that we think are like pretty cool that everyone knows is bad. So what do you guys think? Who wants to go first?
I hate, can't stand the book to movie adaptation Artemis Fowl. That had to have been the worst like piece of media I've ever consumed in my life. I really enjoyed the book a lot, and like I remember it came out in 2020, so like movie theaters were shut down. I got my family together to watch the movie and we were all hyped, and then it was horrible.
Yeah, I don't think I've watched Artemis
you
Fowl
don't need to.
since it came
Yeah.
out. Like I watched it when it came out because I remember I was so excited because I knew the books, and I was just like, oh yeah, this should be good. And I fully have blocked that movie out of my head.
Yeah,
do not remember.
It was like
such
a letdown.
Yeah, I was expecting a lot more from that movie, honestly. Also, just to flip it around, the other side of that question, I love the Percy Jackson movies because I see them so separately than the books. It's a completely different.
Yeah, I like it too.
Completely different story. Because I feel like everybody likes them, especially when you don't compare them to the books. Because if you just think of it as like, oh, the books is not source material, the books are inspiration, then you love it 10 times more. That's also how I feel. I was talking about it earlier, A Wrinkle in Time. People, hey, I know you don't like the A Wrinkle in Time.
I cannot stand The Wrinkle in Time.
You don't like that movie. But if you see it separately and you consider it in a different way, it's not that bad to me. It's not that bad.
Because I think we had the same talk earlier about Uglies. Like, that is one of my favorite movies, but everyone who watches it is like, that's the worst movie ever. And I'm like,
yeah, because Uglies,
I don't see it.
Uglies is also a book to movie adaptation. Just came out like 2024, 2023.
Came out last year, yeah.
Yeah. The movies are not bad. Well, it's not even movies. It's one movie because I don't think
it got so people hated it so much they canceled the other two movies, which I'm so sad because like give it another chance, guys. Everyone stream Uglies right now, and
the book series is so interesting, and the other two books are also so interesting, which is why that's how I feel about Uglies. I'm like, is it the best? No. Is it the worst? No. Did I want to see the rest of the story on screen? Yes.
Absolutely.
And I know you said that earlier. Uglies probably should have came out 10 years ago when dystopian was really like high and people were loving it, because people would have loved that movie back in like 2016 if we're being honest.
Yeah. For me, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of variety in about bad adaptations, of course. I guess one of the biggest letdowns for me was the Giver movie adaptation, of course.
Guys, the Giver was
talking about that.
Because
good.
I read it when I was in middle school. It definitely captivated me, especially since Lois Lowry also kind of wrote like another separate novel about like I guess sort of like in World War II.
Yeah,
basically.
The Life Beyond.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable that I liked it. I do like it focuses a lot on how it means to be in terms of free will, individuality, like what it means to kind of like be yourself. Like if everyone was the same, would it be the perfect society, or would it only be perfect because they want you to be perfect? Then of course there's the movie where it's set in black and white. The character suddenly sees color, which is good in the book. But when it's presented in the movie, it seems a bit weird. Also, they have these flying cars.
It's cool. Like, think about it from, like, a nostalgia lens.
The thing is, if you think about everything from a nostalgia lens, then you love it because nostalgia makes
Touche.
everything 10 times better. But when you think about it from a real lens,
I don't know. I feel like even like really like I feel like it kind of encapsulates the theme of everything. Like I don't know, like Jonah seeing colors to me, like I just really love the movie. Like I can't explain why, but like I understand why people wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
But I feel like it does a really good job of like showing us the world, expanding the world, because like the guy who plays Jonah does a really good job as the lead, kind of pulling us in. And no, you don't agree. I promise you, he's so good. And then like the color scene was amazing. Like I had chills.
I think I need to rewatch it because I don't remember it much. Like
I
I don't
probably
remember the
rewatch
movie
it.
I've
much.
seen it. Basically, he goes through this barrier, and then suddenly everyone can see color.
What?
Yeah.
I think they
Idea.
had a feeling in their bones that it was going to
Idea.
end, and they wanted to give us closure.
Oh,
Idea.
man. But
Go.
I would say that there are a lot of adaptations that I do like. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and I guess also most of the Dr. Seuss books are pretty good adaptations
That's
as
a
well.
very
That's a
good
really
point.
good one.
I'd
Yeah.
never even considered that.
Yeah, mostly not just the films, but also TV shows as well, because you know
Yeah.
they're tailored towards kids, but they kind of have a variety for all ages.
Mhm.
Now, for me, I do like Jim Carrey's How the Grinch
The
Stole
Grinch.
Christmas,
That's a
Yeah.
very
but
good one.
I guess Mike Myers' The Cat in the Hat is
It's not bad.
it's not bad, but I guess it's. I mean, the whole point is kind of quirky, of course. I mean, if you put Jim Carrey in that same boat, it's the whole point. I mean, you have these actors who play like cartoon characters, and they go around being random and crazy.
That actually reminds me of a quick question
Mhm.
because we were talking about The Giver, and then you're also talking about like, it's not The Cat in the Hat. It's not bad, but it's not like amazing. It reminds me of Fahrenheit 451. What do y'all think about that? Because I've heard people who absolutely hate all of the movie adaptations because there's like two or three movie adaptations of that book, and then there's people who are just like, it's as good as it could have gotten. What do y'all think of that?
I think I only saw like 5 minutes of the movie and got bored.
Have you finished it?
For me, it's similar to The Giver, where
Uh-huh.
you take an original source material that's supposed to be ambiguous and balanced in the way that it presents its topics and themes, but then you make it an exaggerated action film that caters towards a cash grab that most people would probably recognize in some way.
Yeah, I see that. I think it's one of those films that I read the book,
Mm-hmm.
was super interested in it, heard that it was going to be turned into an adaptation, and was very interested to see where they were going to go with that.
Well, I think it's about that time where we kind of end off our episode. I, of course, did enjoy talking a lot about book adaptations with you guys. It not only dives into not only how we kind of read, but also how we watch movies as well. Because I feel like that adaptations are kind of something that will happen endlessly forever, basically. And they'll also cause a lot of controversy, a lot of discussion. But in the end, it's mostly just how you interpret the story and how most of the time filmmakers will probably treat the source material or at least create something a bit unique. In the meantime, that's all the time that we have for today. But I'm your host, Sean Smith.
I'm your co-host, Janelle Michelle.
I'm your co-host, Adia Stubblefield.
And this has been Wolves of the Written Word.